I almost see you as like a version of Napoleon Hill. Like Napoleon Hill, he wrote Think and Grow Rich, and his whole goal was just like he got to study. Like he got hired by Andrew Carnegie to just study successful people and study failures, and he walked away with, obviously a ton of knowledge. And so you're in almost a very similar situation, Matt, is what I see you in. Is like you get to go in, you get to watch all these millionaires come through this mastermind called GoBundance, which I'm totally hoping this episode is just a big sales pitch for GoBundance. I've been in for the last, since 2014 myself. That's how we know each other. And you get to see people and like, what are some of the common denominators of success? And I want to even ask you about maybe some of the common denominators for failure. Well, the first question I want to ask you is just how important is, let's say, knowledge to achieving success in your viewpoint on this huge group of guys that are achieving success? And so it's kind of a two-part question. Number one, how important is knowledge? And then what are the other things that you see that are common amongst the guys who make it and go big and end up creating the life that they've set out to accomplish for themselves?
So there's one form of knowledge that I think is more important than any other form, and that's knowledge of people. I think what highly successful people do more intentionally and more deliberately than most is they understand who to go to for what. They don't necessarily have all the answers. They don't necessarily need all the answers, but they know who will have the right answer. And then they know how to understand people. So, if I need to learn about, renting a house out by the bedroom, I could read on Google, or I could say, who in my world do I know about this? And then I can reach out to you and say, hey, how can I help you? What's going on? How can I be of service? And then I can start to like learn and grow as a human, as a way of serving you. And then that's how I acquire my knowledge. So what I would tell you is I think like the number one form of knowledge from my perspective that everybody has the capabilities to harness is just knowledge of people. So just know who to go to, when to go to them, and why to go to them. And then if you want to go another level deeper, understand what their love language is. Like if you really want to get to know people, I can give you an example. One of the people on our team, her love language is words of affirmation. So if I want her to run through a brick wall for me and I'm on a Zoom call and she's on it, and let's say we're on a tribe-wide Zoom call with 150 guys, I can be like, hey, so-and-so is an absolute rock star. She's absolutely incredible. Like, please make sure to just give her a thanks if you see her. And that's what she needs to keep her going. That's what she needs to keep herself ticking. So you pay attention to humans. And I think if you have knowledge of people, you can really, really achieve whatever level of success you desire.
Wow. So we've got service. Knowledge matched with service is like a dynamic duo, right? Or,
I think so.
Who matched with service,
I think
knowing who to go to and match with service is a dynamic duo. But what would you say are some of the other denominators that you've seen as you've watched this group evolve and come up through the ranks? I think one of them is you have to have a vision for your life. David preached that to me at a very young age. Like, you have to have a vision for what you're trying to do with your life, not what the news wants you to do with your life, not what Facebook wants you to do with your life, not what Target wants you to do with your life, but like you, Sam, what are you going to do with your life? And I think you'll find that the higher you go on the success ladder, look at it in sports, right? Like Michael Jordan was crystal clear as to who he was and what he was going to accomplish in basketball. Tiger Woods was crystal clear as to who he was and what he was going to accomplish in golf. So if you have a clear vision, I think you just are able to navigate life and anything that gets thrown at you and understand, like, how does this serve me or how does this help me? And then the last thing I would say is I think successful people are very intentional with their time. Time is like the number one thing we can't make more of, we can't buy more of, we can't get more of. And so, if you look at Kobe Bryant, for instance, why did Kobe Bryant fly in a helicopter to practice? Because it allowed him to not have to sit in traffic, but it allowed him to spend more time with his family. It allowed him to get to practice earlier, allowed him to get home earlier, allowed him to stay later. Like, it gave him flexibilities and freedoms that made him more efficient with his time, which allowed him to do more in a day than you or I could maybe do because we sat in traffic in LA. Yeah, man, I think about that often. One of the things I've recently done is I drive a Tesla, and there's this way you can, I probably shouldn't be saying this on a recording call, but if you put a weight on the steering wheel, you can like trick the sensor, and the sensor will think that your hands are on the wheel all the time. So I've done this to my car, and it's actually very popular. Like, it's actually very common, like on the Tesla threads, to have a weight on your, and just to see
the amount of time, and I trust it a lot. So just to see the amount of time that I got back and how much I'm able to have my car be a mobile office is really, really, really fascinating. And they've since the last update, they've since outsmarted the weights, so that's not really possible to do anymore, which is really cool. And I'm not updating my car; only updated my wife's car. But man, what about failure? You've watched some guys come in, and I think one of the things I really respect about Napoleon Hill was his ability to say, "Hey, look, here's what I see the common denominators of success are, and here's some ways that you can go wrong. Here's some ways that if you get too caught up in this or this, it ends badly. It ends poorly for you." I know you've seen that. I know you and I have watched guys come in and that happen. What would you say are some things to watch out for? Some warning signs from Matt King.
I mean, look, Ryan Holiday's book "Ego is the Enemy" is absolute gold. If you haven't read it, by all means, like, pick it up on Amazon now and read it. I think ego is the number one thing that sort of can start to get you off the rails. And then also, I think not having a clear why. So if you don't have a clear why, and your why just becomes money, it's very hard to make ethical, good choices, because you're just letting like a dollar sort of steer you, and it will take you to terrible places. I mean, it can take you to great places too, but if money's your only thing, it can be very dangerous. And then the last thing I would say is, I think so many of us surround ourselves with friends, and friends tell us what we want to hear. But we need to surround ourselves with allies, and allies tell us what we need to hear. And so you have to kind of find allies in your life, people that aren't like, "Hey, I care about, Sam as a friend," but, "Hey, I care about Sam as a human, and I'm not afraid to call him out." And you need to surround yourself with people like, and trust, that can be allies for you. Because at the end of the day, again, we're all human. Like, we all live in this echo chamber of our own BS, and it sounds great in our heads. Trust me, it sounds really good. But you need somebody that's not afraid to check in and go, "You really believe that? You sure? Like, hey, let me pause you there. Let's have a conversation about that." And so, I think finding allies, which is one of the things I think Abundance does so well for so many of our members, is it creates that board of directors for your lives that aren't friends, but are allies that tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear.